Three, two, one. We are live. Welcome back to another Money Moves. My name's John Cleaver with the ever awesome Wendy Lee. Say hi, Wendy. There she is.
Hey.
We're excited to have you here for another edition of Money Moves with Black Swan, and we got some fun stuff to talk about today. You know, everybody's like, "Ooh, what's going on in the economy?" I'm sure you've seen the layoffs and stuff like that. Financial storm on the horizon. So we're going to be talking about today and how you should kind of prepare and get your financial house in order, so to speak, or get things battened down, ready for the financial storm that's probably going to come this year. And a couple things that you can do. So we're going to get started in just a second. Before we do, as always, click that share button, click that love button down below, the like button, show some love and help us with our algorithms. We would greatly appreciate that. But let's get started and grab a pen and paper. And we're going to start here in just a few seconds. So we are back, and I'm excited about today. I don't know. I woke up in a great mood today. I've been introduced to horchata coffee, horchata latte. That stuff is good. If you've never tried it, try it. Just saying.
I've never had it at home, but there's a coffee shop where you and I actually both used to live in Spring Hill, Thompson Station area that had a horchata latte, and I loved it. But I've never made it at home.
It's pretty awesome. I bought those little Keurig cups or whatever, and I'm sure it's better at a coffee shop. But hey, I'm cheap, so I'm going to do it at home. But anyway, well, today we're going to talk about some things that you can do about or prepping. I use that word for a financial storm and what you can do to get your house in order. I mean, there's a lot of layoffs going on right now. People, have a lot of uncertainty about what's around the corner financially, not only in the economy, but for them, their families. And oddly enough, the bills keep coming in, right? And, so you've got to do some things to prepare. But I don't know. I mean, at least I'm seeing a lot of it. I don't know, Wendy, what are your thoughts out there? Rosy picture or...
No, I just read an article this morning, which was really interesting because I've seen layoffs. We actually have friends that we work with that, have a full-time job that they've experienced layoffs. But Tyler Perry just decided to stop building a massive studio that he was building in Hollywood because of AI. Because he says, I don't have to have a studio anymore that's massive. I don't have to have all these scenes, because he just saw new technology come out with AI that he's like, I just need to have a little studio, and I can have any background, any scenery, anything I want. And I don't think people realize the impact that AI is going to have on the everyday jobs. And that's one of the points Tyler Perry made, is he's like, all the people I'm thinking about who are not going to have a job because of this technology. It's massive. So, and that's just one.
No, and you're right. I mean, I've been talking about AI, and it's exciting, it's new, it's scary at the same time, because you've got to be, as a person, you've got to be extremely adaptable and continuing to learn, how do I leverage this new technology and things like that. If not, if you're just kind of sitting on the sidelines letting life happen, and that's literally millions of people in the United States, it's going to be scary, and it's going to be a situation where you've got to figure out ways. And we've talked about multiple streams of income and stuff in the past, but that financial storm is around the corner. And it's not just that. I mean, we're printing money left and right. Inflation's quote unquote 4%. I'm going to use air quotes on that because I don't believe it. And it's one of the things that you look at the road we're headed on. Now we've got an election year coming up, and I get all that, but who knows how that's going to turn out, right? But there's some things that you can do to kind of tighten things up, and really, these 4 areas are what you need to focus on in, the immediate future. I mean, and I'm talking, get on it now, figure out what you need to do, sit down and figure things out. But the first one is really looking at that emergency fund. So many people out there, don't have an emergency fund. They think, oh, I'm just going to be okay. I'm going to use my credit cards or whatever. Well, if you recall, I think we talked about this earlier, or maybe late last week, back in '08, when things got bad, the credit card companies reduced everybody's credit limits, right?
Yeah.
And you may have had, $10,000 credit line or a $5,000 credit line, and all of a sudden you may have only owed $1,000, $2,000 on it or whatever. All of a sudden the credit card company came back and said, okay, your new limit is what you owe.
Yeah.
So you've got no room. So that is that magical, credit card emergency fund was gone overnight. And you got to
Disappears.
look at what's that?
Said it disappears. Yeah. Overnight.
Yeah, and so not only that, it impacts your credit negatively because now you're using most of your credit, so you can't go out and get another credit card and things like that. So it's kind of a domino. But having that emergency fund set up, and it's start with $1,000, right? Find a way to pick up on some extra jobs, some things like that, or there's a ton of side hustles out there. There's so many ways to make money out there right now in this digital economy we're in. It's crazy. Find a way, and you look at, okay, I want to get the $1,000, right? That's going to cover 50% of the emergencies that pop up in most people's lives, other than like a job loss or something like that. And that's really where you want to start. Okay, once they hit the $1,000, I want to get to 3 to maybe 6 months of expenses. That gives you some breathing room if there is a layoff or something like that. If you have 6 months of your expenses laid up, emergency fund only, not vacation fund, right? That's going to protect you in the event that you do have a job loss where you're not in panic mode. It gives you time to find a job that you actually enjoy, not just something to get a paycheck, right? So that's number one, is that emergency fund. Number two is, and we talk about this all the time, get out of debt. Out of debt. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about big debt like your house, right? But I am talking about looking at credit cards, looking at personal loans, looking at, if you've got an auto loan or something like that. And that stuff's expensive anymore, right? But we just had a conversation with a client earlier this week talking about getting their financial house in order. That was one of the big stressors that they had.
Yeah. The debt piece is huge. I'm seeing so many people, like you said, like we talked about with the credit cards, right? They use the credit cards as that's going to be my emergency fund. Then they have a job loss. Then they max out the credit cards. Then they don't have any room, and it's just, and it becomes this cycle. And then they're stressed out because of debt. And then that even makes them feel paralyzed for moving forward with creating the income. It's just like this vicious cycle that people get into.
Yeah, and it is. It's like a downward spiral. I mean, it's something that it's like a drain, in the tub or whatever. It's a challenge, and it creates some unneeded stress and things like that. And I know, so many people look at debt as like, and at least this is my experience when I was younger, right? Oh, I can afford that monthly payment, right? We look at everything in monthly payment. That's why if you drive by a car lot or whatever, not so much now, but back in the day, you'd see the brightly colored on used car lots, how much per month or whatever. Well, they're stretching that out. It used to be when I was young, first buying my first car, 48 months was the typical term for an auto, right? And then it became 60, and then it became 72, and then it became 84. And, you see a lot of 84, 96 month terms on an auto loan. I mean, come on. That's crazy to think about it, but the cars keep going up. Trucks are insane right now. And so it just, you bust on that monthly payment, but you've got to shift that mindset. Again, not looking at the monthly payment, but how can I make this happen? It's not that I can't afford it. How can I afford this? Right. But you've got to change your mindset. One of the things I do, and we joke about it all the time, we've got affiliate partners and things like that we work with our team. And, we've got one referral that they pay out, a company, if we refer a client, that client takes action, our reps get $400 for that referral. And so I look at, okay, well, that's going to cost me half of a referral or another referral or 2 referrals, right? And so I look at it, okay, what do I need to do to pay cash for that so I don't have to go out and rack up credit card? Now, what I'm not saying, and I want to be crystal clear on this because there's some gurus out there that, all credit's bad, we live in a credit society, folks. Right. You need a good credit score. If you have a good credit score versus somebody that has a not so great credit score, you're going to pay less for your stuff. It's just, it's how we work, right? So you've got to keep that and maintain it, but use it as a tool, not as a crutch, not to make it from check to check, right? That's an income problem, not a debt problem. And so looking at, how do you go and do that? Well, find a way. Again, there's so many little side hustles out there and affiliate programs that you can get plugged into. and look to use that to pay for things that you want to do, not credit cards. But if you do have credit card debt, do the old fashioned debt snowball. I learned that from a group called Crown Financial Ministries. They're still out there. It's awesome. That's how I got my start. And you can actually just lower that debt, and it works. It's amazing how it works. I don't know, why it works so well, but it does, and it's great. But get out of debt. Why? Because that money that you're putting away every month, 300, 400, maybe 1,000, 1,500 a month on credit card debt, that's money that you could be setting aside for your emergency fund, stacking up for future wealth, right? Your retirement fund or your wealth fund or whatever you want to call it. And it's robbing that. You're literally giving away part of your paycheck to interest to the banks every month. And that's something you definitely want to get rid of.
My mind goes to, I used to not think about it this way, but when I shifted my mindset, it really made a difference. I don't want to pay for my past. I'd rather invest in my future. And when
Ooh, I
we
love that.
are living in debt, right, we're paying for our past. There's it. And when you think about it that way, it really is it's kind of a kick in the rear and go, that's not the life I want to live. Right. I want to be investing in the future. So.
No, and you're exactly right. I love that, and it's one of the things that I challenge our clients and things like that to look at major purchases and ask themselves the question before they pull the trigger. Is this purchase moving me closer to my financial goals or further away from my financial goals?
Yeah.
And I'm talking my big goals. What do I want for me? What do I want for my children? What do I want for my legacy? And if you answer the question, it moves me further away, don't do it. Right. And it's a simple question. It's a little bit of discipline mixed in, but ask yourself that question before you get all excited and make that emotional purchase of do you need a new car or do you want a new car? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And do you actually need a new one or a new to you? I'm not a fan of brand new cars. But it's one of those things that, ask yourself that and really kind of putting things in perspective. It really helps people get their financial house in order. So that's number two. Number three is looking at precious metals. I'm a big fan of having, 5-10% of your assets in what I call precious metals, right? Platinum, gold, silver. I love silver because it's cheap, inexpensive. Let me put it that way. And it's something that they're still pulling out of the ground, and it's also being used. And like I said, most people can afford it. I mean, you can buy silver coins, stuff like that. And I'm talking the physical, have it in your hand, in your safe or whatever, not it's stored in some, I've got a certificate that says I have silver sitting in Delaware somewhere.
Yeah.
Good luck. I'm not saying they don't have it stored for you, but if you need it, something happens, financially, economically, or whatever, you need that physical asset in hand, and it's not going to be easy to access when it's sitting in a vault in Delaware.
Yeah. I wouldn't trust that should the world come to, we hit
Well, I know you're from Delaware,
stage.
so I don't know if that's something, there's something about Delaware. No, I'm just kidding. We love you, Delaware. That was a joke. But you're right. It's one of those things that I want to see it. I want to have it. I want to touch it, right? Not, have a certificate, because that's kind of like fiat currency in a new sense. So, having some kind of precious metals. I mean, and silver right now is trading, I think at 20, 22 an ounce right now. I haven't looked recently. So you can go out. I mean, I don't care what you're doing. If you've got, the ability to go spend $20 on hanging out with the guys or whatever, go spend $20 and go pick up a silver coin, and just, every paycheck. And the next thing you know, you'll have a nice little nest egg set aside on that. Now, I want to be clear. I don't look at, precious metals as a quote unquote investment. Again, this is all educational, right? I look at it as more of a hedge against inflation, a store of buying power. Okay. Rather than a true traditional investment. I don't think it's the price of those commodity or those precious metals going up or down. That's the dollar going up or down, and it's reflected in that silver or gold or whatever the case may be. But that's something. So number three is precious metals. Number four is looking at, okay, most people don't look at their 401ks or their IRAs or things like that. It's, we're told things like set it and forget it. And these are I don't want to call them out and out lies, but these are the BS statements you hear from traditional advisors. Yeah. It's long-term, set it and forget it. Don't look at it. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, that's my entire future. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Right. Number two is, if you lose, don't worry, you'll get the money back. It's all cyclical. Right. Okay. Well, by that logic, you lose a lot more value than the money. You lose the time in between when it went down and you got the time back, right? You look at the 2000, the early 2000s, that lost decade, 2000, 2012, I think it was. it's scary if you're not moving money around. And the other comment I've heard from advisors too, and I shake my head at, well, you only lose money when you sell your positions. Okay, well, by that logic, I only make money when I sell my positions when it's up too, and I don't see that happening a whole lot. So again, not to knock traditional advisors, a lot of great ones out there, and you may have one, but you want to have that conversation. But looking at more commodities, because when people have financial stress, right? They start tightening the belt, so to speak. So they start doing without items. We saw that in '08. What went through the roof? Well, the commodities, because people still need to eat. They still have all these things they buy. Home improvement stores, those went up because of the fact that people started doing their own stuff rather than hiring somebody. And if you're like me, you end up making, 4 trips to Lowe's or Home Depot on one project. Oh, I got to go get this. I got to go get this. So, looking at things like that, shifting things around, or better yet, something called protected asset classes, right? I know we talk to our clients a lot about these, and we help our clients with these. But looking at protected asset classes, there are actually ways to get, index returns or index growth. Market goes up, you get it. But when the market goes down, you don't gain anything, but you don't lose your money either. And those are the protected because you've got a hedge, your assets are protected. And so those are things that, looking at, how do you protect what you've got? Those are great ways to do it, or even continue to grow during those sketchy times, right? And I don't know what the future is going to, hold. I know, I don't have a crystal ball in front of me, but you look at the indicators out there, just like if I go outside and there's not a cloud in the sky and the sun's up, it's probably going to be a good day to do yard work. If I go outside and it's dark and gloomy and the wind's blowing and things like that. Yeah, exactly. Right. There's probably a storm going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, and that's the same thing economically. And so many people kind of stick their head in the sand and just kind of, oh, it'll all work out. I'm just gonna, but you can't. You've only got so many, so much time working. You're only going to make so much money, right? So you've got to be intentional about every move you make. And when the storm's coming, you got to kind of batten down the hatches. I don't know if you've got you want to add on those last 2 items.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say this, one thing about what we do with helping people with their money and teaching people these financial strategies is it doesn't matter if the market's amazing and the economy's amazing, or if we're in or leading into a recession. People are focused on getting their money right? And I feel like both things, when the market is flourishing, people are like, oh man, I need to get my money right? And then when the recessions hit, it's, man, I need to lock down and get my money right.
I need to really get it right.
Yeah. But I would say, like what you just said about time, that was probably the most eye-opening thing for me in understanding finance, is that it's not how much money, it's how much time is way more valuable. Time is way more valuable when it comes to growing wealth. And so I would just encourage people watching, and if you're watching this after the financial storm is over, still, time is valuable, time is precious. Make sure you get somebody to sit down and go through a full plan with you, and that you're setting things up the right way for your future, and start investing in that future that you want for yourself. Because, I feel like, especially the United States, we just, with our debt and with the things we have going on, we're living in the past. And, it's time to get it right. So, and I'm on that journey too. It's a process. It's not an overnight thing, but
no, and that's the thing. And so many people think that they're the only ones, right? It's just me, we all go through this. We all have experienced some kind of financial tragedy, right? We've all made financial mistakes. We've all gone, man, if I'd have known then. But the fact is, like Wendy just said, I mean, that's in the rearview mirror, right?
Yeah.
And think of it like driving a car. I mean, that's why you focus. That's why the windshield in your car is so much larger than the rearview mirror. That's what you need to be focused on, what's in front of you. Forget what's in the past. You made the decisions you made based on the information you had at the time and what you knew. As you start watching our channel, as you start going through the videos we've got on Black Swan Money, the money moves, you look at it, now you're getting educated on things. The light bulbs hopefully are going off. Sit down with somebody and kind of walk through that. It's always good to have a second set of eyes, as long as they know what they're doing, right? If you don't have anybody, reach out to us. We'd be more than happy. Mention the channel. We'll give you a free financial review, and do something with it or not. But at least now you've got the review, and you know the direction you're going. Don't try to get from point A to point B without having a map, right? That's the whole point. But you look at, just kind of recap. So financial storm coming up, what should you be doing? Number one, getting that emergency fund, $1,000, then 3 to 6 months of expenses set back for an emergency only. That's going to give you some breathing room in the event of something happening, right? Rather than running to your credit cards, because who knows what's going to happen. Number two, get that debt paid off. If you do have credit card debt, go out to crown.org. You can reach out to us. We'll give you a free debt snowball and explain how to do it. But you'd be amazed at how quickly you can get out of debt with the same amount of money you're probably paying on it already. If not, just adding a few bucks more. Number three, look to pick up some precious metals. And I'm not talking big quantities or things like that, but, try to find a way to add to. Don't have a ton of it, right? I've got some friends that are extreme, like doing most of their assets to it and things like that. And that's, I think for most people, that's like I said, a little bit extreme. 5 to 10% of what your total nest egg is, have it towards precious metals, just some kind of hedge, right? And then lastly, look to shift things around. As well as I do, the economy's tight right now. You've seen it at the grocery store. You've seen it at the gas pump. You've seen it in prices that we pay. It seems like everything has gone up. And so shift things around and, look at changing towards commodities or look at changing, towards protected asset classes, whatever. But, again, this is educational. Your situation may be different. You want to make sure you're talking with somebody and get some guidance on that. Don't just throw your hands up and say, well, it goes up and goes down. Let's just ride that wave, right?
It is.
No, you can do better than that. And it doesn't take much to do it, right? Yeah. Educate yourself. And that's what we're all about. So I'm going to say wrap it up. This is a little bit of a longer one, but I think it was an important one. So thanks again. Catch us every Tuesday, right? 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, right here. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, go to blackswanmoney.com. That'll take you directly to our YouTube channel, and you can watch all past episodes. This is our 133rd video. I'm excited about that. Depending on what model you're in. And now we've got the new podcast too. So that 133 number is kind of, I just screwed that up, but we've got our podcast now too. So you can listen to us in the car on Spotify or whatever your favorite mode of listening is. So educate yourself. That's the key. Learn about this stuff and get empowered to make good money moves for you and your family. Thanks everybody. Have a great day. And we'll talk to you next week.